Once you sit down, we'll get.
We're live.
We're rolling.
It's not live though.
Dude, no, streaming. It's ready.
Okay.
It is rolling. Let's try to keep it so we don't have to make too many cuts.
3,
Yes,
2,
absolutely.
1.
All right, so welcome to the podcast, everybody.
So let's restart that because I sang 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't forget to set your phones on mute, please.
You actually need to be close to a mic always. It has to be facing you.
Facing.
There.
There we go.
Don't make sure you're not kicking that. Stay under this right.
Yeah, because last time you were kicking it. Thank you.
Sorry.
She was tappy, tappy, tappy. Okay, here we go.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the McMillion podcast and Families of Change podcast.
Oh, no, we're not McMillions. It's not a McMillions podcast.
We have McMillions
Yeah.
on the podcast.
Go ahead, sir.
Besides one.
Everybody.
No, you should be the welcomer because you have the. So it's the Families of Change podcast, okay? And we are restoring the place where we're restoring the waste places. All right. Welcome to
Probably need to come in a little bit more.
welcome to
Okay.
welcome to our.
You can see the audio levels over there. We're already actually peaking. We might need to turn the audio levels down.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
good.
Good? Okay. Ready?
Yes.
Welcome to the Families of Change podcast. We are restoring the waste places one podcast at a time. So we have all 11 of us here today. We've got a special guest. Why don't we start at that end of the couch and go names and ages for everybody.
Hi, I'm Ben Houston and I'm 10.
I'm Bijou. I am 22.
Who's going to be 23 this year?
I am Mama, Mother of Change. I am the mother to all 8 children.
Clinton here, father of change.
Hi, I'm Clinton and I'm 4. Hi, I'm Brighton and I'm 7.
I'm Niall and I'm 21.
I'm Remington and I'm 12.
I'm DeVay and I'm 19.
I'm Joseph and I'm 18.
I'm Vaughn Kensington and I'm 15.
And our special guest today is Joseph, just so that you know. We've adopted him into the house today and into the podcast. So thank you, Joseph, for joining us today on our family discussion. And really today, we're inviting you. You've seen we're in a different spot in our house today because this is what we do on every Saturday. We observe Shabbat in our house, and it's a time where we just come relaxed. We're, as you see us, is how we've been all day. And this is what we really do. We sit around on Saturdays, and we talk about things that are pretty deep. I mean, we talk about scripture. What other things do we do on Shabbat?
We also play scripture games.
We sleep a lot and we'll eat breakfast very late.
We eat breakfast about 3.
But we're eating breakfast at 6
Maybe
today.
sometimes take a walk or something too.
Take a walk, go hang out
I'll come and
outside.
visit you guys.
So Bijou lives in Nashville, and so she comes when she can, and so we're happy to have Bijou down for Father's Day weekend. And what are some of your favorite things that we do on Shabbat? What is your favorite part of Shabbat?
We don't have to worry.
That, yes.
Yeah, big. Just a time for me to be able to spend time with family and be able to just really talk, have a chance to be able to just basically decompress, talk, eat some good food, and then also is have communion. Having communion times for me is an important time. We take communion once a week, so that's really good.
Mine is the homework.
No homework? No homework?
Me and him share that.
They have a schedule they do every Monday through Friday, so that's good. What about you, Vaughn Kensington? What do you enjoy about Shabbat?
Just the rest and not having to work and stuff like that. So.
And this is important that we're talking about not having to work, because we were kind of before we got on, we were having a discussion with Joseph and just telling him he's new, pretty new to the family. And so we're giving him some of our family history, talking to him about how Clinton used to be a workaholic. I used to be a workaholic also, but Clinton being, a man, put a lot of value in what he was capable of doing with his hands. And so, we could even, maybe even continue that discussion a little bit for the dads that are out there listening, that so many men will put a lot of
They put their value in what they can do with their hands, and it's the works that we do. I'll speak for myself, is that I had to come to the realization that I put what I could do for the Lord is more of a is like I guess my value. I put my value in who I am, and also who I was to the Lord, in what I could do with my hands, or what I could do with. It was like my
Your worth, like
yeah,
value.
my worth, my value in what I could do. So it's like, and that probably stems from some childhood. But if I'm doing good, if I feel good, if I'm working hard, then my daddy's gonna love me, type of thing, kind of deal. And so, or I'm earning earning trust or looking for accolade because of what I could do in the service space. And so. So yeah, that's.
And also, maybe you could even talk about how love languages. This is a good time even to mention love languages, because his love languages is acts of service, and so people who have acts of service is high on their desire list. Of how their love tank gets full. So it's really common for somebody who has acts of service to want to give love with what they do. So they assume that if I'm not doing it enough, then maybe I'm not warranting love.
Yeah. So the 5 love languages, right, is acts of service. We talked about that. Words of affirmation, touch, quality time, and
Gifts.
Gifts. Yes, and gifts. Emissaries, gifts.
Mine is that I say there's a 6th love language. It's not specifically gifts. It's just give me spa and the pamper treatment. Like everybody just knows, hands down, you never want to
Chocolate
go
also
wrong.
works for her too, pretty good.
Which one?
Chocolate.
Chocolate and just send me the spa.
Chocolate.
and
Yeah.
foot massage.
Be
We
beside
did that once, and she stayed gone for the whole entire day.
Yeah. So so how you receive love and how you give love is generally in one of the 5 love languages, and you'll generally have a major and then a minor. So me is works acts of service. So I show love by giving service to others, like doing things for others. But also I
Like
a lot,
working.
like working hard. And then also someone working hard for me or doing something for me is pretty high on the list as well. And and then
Good night, guys.
You guys have been kind of.
and so emissary, she loves gifts and spas, and so
I mean, this conversation can jump all a
Yeah.
whole bunch of different places today. So,
So-
like I said,
so-
we're inviting you into our literal conversations, and we do. Sometimes we start one place and we end another. So we're literally just giving you a bird's eye view of what it's like in our house on Shabbat. But
Yeah.
so we were just really talking about value, though,
Right.
and about getting stuck with, trying to earn something from God.
yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. Is it?
Yeah, so being my love language is service, and those that work in service is that, or have a love language of service is that I would show love, and or I would show love by doing things, and so when I was I got wound up getting hurt, and I wasn't able to do things that were able to. Yeah, Blanca, you're out of the camera, but you're leaving. So anyway, and so
Like when you weren't able to produce with your hands and you felt like you didn't have value because, just as a wife's perspective, I saw that when he got injured from work and he got early retirement, that he felt that his value was degraded and that he really, his self-worth was small. And being that this is a Father's Day week and this is a perfect day for us to be actually giving a message to the men to just talk about, like, even, and we'll shift this podcast towards the Father's Day message, okay? We will do that, and just talking about the value of a man, the worth and the value of a family. So let's just go ahead and shift that, since this is Father's Day, and talk about Daddy going through his stage of needing to find that God's love is unconditional, like he was loved unconditional. But also, if you guys can talk about what Daddy has done, and even Joseph, if you want to chime in, even with your father or whatever, just the importance of a dad being present in the home, or and none of us is perfect. I'm not a perfect mom. He's not a perfect dad. And even just giving some tools for dads, if they left this podcast, if they left with something to take away, and they found out about their personal value and saw how important it is for dads to communicate, or whatever it is, if they can just leave and feel valued, feel unconditionally loved, and if they had a tool to leave to make them a better man, then I think we will have done our job today. on the podcast. So we celebrate all the dads out there. Thank you to every father who has stuck around, who has, continued to go on even when you felt like things were difficult or rough. I thank you that you continue to provide or show up. And even if there was times that you've made mistakes, everybody's made mistakes. I just want to thank the fathers and celebrate all the dads out there. You're needed. Our society needs you. Your children need you. Fathers really are a backbone of the house. So we just celebrate you today. Thank you. Everybody say thank you to the dads out there.
Thank you to the dads.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Especially to Daddy.
Yeah, society is or families are basically the nucleus of the society, and so our generation definitely needs dads and strong dads in our homes. And so we as Families of Change, we're trying to, and where our goal is to be able to build up and lift up and encourage families. And so as this podcast that we're doing is to kind of look through the values and the interests of dads, and be able to help encourage dads throughout this time to be not only be present in the home, but also increase the presence of their home. And so because a lot of times we can work and we get into the mode of being a provider and forget about the other levels of being a priest and a protector. So
A priest, protector,
and
a provider.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so let's just go through. And so
One of the things that we did at that, which I thought was a great idea, Bijou, and by the way, we do have people that we have in the live audience, and I'm just going to go through here because they're doing a shout out for Ember Overland families on here. They're saying Happy Father's Day to Clinton from
Ember. Thank
Melanie is on here, and
Hey,
so just
Carver.
giving a shout out to these families who are watching even now who are saying Happy Father's Day. All right, so thank you for those well wishes. So one of the things that Bijou did, which was a really great idea, Bijou, is we had our meal last night, and I thought it was great. So if you guys are at home, this would be great for you guys to do even with your kids. Is we went around the table, and she asked one of the kids, what was they're making.
What's your favorite feature that you got from Daddy? I asked everybody what was your favorite feature. So, do you want?
Yeah, so let's do that again, so that
Yeah.
just to be an example of what it sounded like, what that looked like. So we'll go ahead and Van Houston, what was the thing that
Brains.
he was happy that he got his brains from Daddy?
Okay, Remington, how about you?
Well, mine was his love for Christ. It's always been his love for Christ, and I guess I've carried on that gene.
all right.
Building. I love building.
Hard worker man.
Mental fortitude, just learning that your mind is your weakest link. He taught that always.
Yeah.
Princeton, what's your favorite
What?
feature that you got from Daddy?
A heart.
A heart.
God, and I go to heaven, and I eat my food.
And you eat food.
And you know
The
what?
important things in life right there. I got a heart and going to heaven and I eat my food.
What's so good about that is that he actually said the same thing last night. He said heaven. He got heaven from Daddy. Like he still is sticking with that. So that means it's pretty deep. It means it's legitimately something that he feels he's got from Daddy. What about Bijou?
Mine would be my faith and flexibility. So from him,
Like physical.
Well, I was
No.
talking about not like physically flexible too, but I mean we both are very physically flexible mostly.
But Bijou is very flexible with her. Biju's
Workable.
peace country.
Yeah,
She's
very
so peaceable. She's the
Yeah.
calm in the storm, because I'm kind of always on the, I'm
on
always
the edge.
I'm always
And
like
I'm always like here, like it's okay. Let's soften that edge out just a little bit.
Bijou was here. She was like, oh, Mom, she hasn't been here for 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden she comes. She's like, Mama, like she calms me down. I'm like, oh, Biju's home. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Bijou.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So Bijou is the flexible. She got flexibility from Clinton, and
Yeah.
my husband is. He's pretty flexible when he's not being stubborn. There's two parts of him.
Yeah,
Flexible
so
and
this is the part of him the part that is flexible in peace country, because not many, I don't feel like pretty much most men could survive marrying to my mom, because she is very,
That's the stubborn
amazing, but she's amazing, but she has like a lot of unique personality, and he's very
That's a
flexible.
good way to put it.
So she's like,
Well, Bijou was always like, Mama, I'm like, because she's in, and she lives #adult life in Nashville,
Yeah.
and she's around people all the time. She's like,
Yeah.
my mama is super unique.
She's very unique. She has a lot of gifts and traits, and she is just like everywhere and at the same time doing everything. So like for him, he has always been like, you know, very supportive and flexible for you, I feel like. So like if you needed to travel places or whatever, like
we're God's put us together.
he's
We
very
work together.
workable.
We work
So,
together.
Like, the stubborn part of him, you know, is good too, but the flexible part is the part I got. So
He's a peacekeeper. Like
Yeah.
both him and BG are peacekeepers. So I would say that was definitely what you got from Daddy.
yeah.
I said good genetics.
Genji. He said, I think he said muscles if I remember correctly.
He said muscles last
He's
Muscle genetics.
muscle genetics. Okay.
What about you?
Oh, Dave.
I don't know. I guess I really like working in my dimples.
Yeah.
Oh, she's
very helpful.
Oh, that's what she said. She said dimples. She
Yeah,
said dimples.
Yeah, thick and dimples.
I love my
Where the-
dimple.
Yeah, that goes a long way. Work ethics and dimples go a long way from the Phillies, okay? But this is the great thing is that Joseph also has some great dimple. Like he has a dimple or great dimples. Yeah. So that was great. So when I saw the dimple, I was like, okay, he definitely. We have a whole bunch of dimples in the household right now.
And so from your dad, what would be like your favorite trait that you got from him?
Probably just like his godly perspective on things and just not having a mindset that's like worldly like most people.
That's really
And just always like being there for me and everything. So I'm just
Yeah.
very thankful for his presence in my life. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
really
that's
cool.
awesome.
That's
That's great.
awesome that you have like, and that's what I've found even when we moved out here is I feel like there's a lot more dads that are connected on
Yeah.
this side of the
It's
coast,
not more
and
common.
so it's like it just felt like it was a lot more disconnected side of like California and Oregon. It was just not common. So, and I'm really grateful to see there's a lot more,
Yeah.
you know, connected families
Yeah,
out
it
here.
was really interesting. I was reading a paper by the Minnesota Psychology Association. It's kind of an older paper, but it was titled something along the lines of fatherlessness in America. And what I found was really, really interesting. So we've all heard, you know, that like fatherless rates have gone up, you know, crime rates have gone up, right? We've all heard that. What they did too is also how engaged a father is in a home and how that relates to crime. Like it could be a 2-parent household, same 2 parents, never got divorced, but if the father is not engaged, and this is not like a Christian paper, this is the Minnesota Psychology Association that did this. I mean, this is not, it's like, you know,
It's a secular paper.
Yeah, this is a secular paper, but they found that that criminals who rated their father as being home but non-present were still twice as likely to commit crimes as somebody who listed their father as home and present. And they were if somebody didn't have a father, like their father wasn't part of their life, there wasn't in there, they were 4 times as likely as a normal person to commit crime. So they were still twice as likely to commit crime though.
Yeah.
Even with having a father in the home, but just where the father wasn't involved in their life.
So if you really want to set up your kids for success, be present, not just.
Because I mean, like
there.
there was a bunch of them too, where they weren't even, because like they had like the father, they had the father's engagedness in the home, the mother's engageness in the home, and in the lives of the kid, and the income of the home. Income played only a small role in crime rates, and the mother's involvement in the home was less than half as significant as the father's,
And that's exactly
even among female inmates.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's such a.
That was really impacting for me. It was like 2009 when they did this, but it kind of really, like.
I'm sure that hasn't changed much, even though
No.
the age of it, yeah.
But yeah.
So for those watching the replay and for our live audience right here, if you guys can let us know as well what, you know, basically if we were asking you the same question about what has your father, how did you say it? BG, she's the one that posed the question.
What's your favorite feature that you got from your father?
What's a favorite feature that you got from your father? And so we'll go ahead and ask Clinton that question. Also, the reason I'm going to ask Clinton this question is because his dad hasn't been really present in his life, and the reason I'm asking him this question is because his dad hasn't been around and hasn't met most of our kids. I do want to bring this out because it's important, because there's going to be somebody who's watching the podcast and say, well, Emma Sarah, my dad hasn't been around, and this might be a trigger for you. So I want to make sure that we're being really transparent with you guys right now, and it is Father's Day, And, so I want to ask my husband, even with his dad being limitedly in his life, what was the character quality or something that he got from his dad that he appreciates?
Yeah, so I guess the biggest, I mean, I don't want to be like negative on it, but I think the biggest aspect is to really understand the cost of not being there, and understand the cost of divorce, and understand the cost of, so my dad's been through several marriages, and I had to go through that, and not being present and not being engaged. So the value of that is I know the ramifications of it, and so when I came and married Miss Sarah, is that divorce wasn't an option because I knew the cost, and so so from that, I do thank my raising and bringing up for that, because I don't have to think that, I can't say that I don't know what the cost of making these decisions and going down the path of saying that, well, looks like divorce, or this looks like me not being engaged, because I have experienced that, I've felt that, and I understand that, and I know what that costs, and it's a huge cost, and I know that basically through divorce is that kids are the biggest victims of divorce, and that by not being engaged, not having fathers, that there is guys have to make a way, and have to ultimately have to find Christ as their father and be able to make that up, and so. Yeah, I that's what I would say. I see the biggest importance is.
So, and this is important, and this is why I asked him, because I knew he would be transparent with y'all, is this is what we have to understand, is that even when our parents make mistakes, even when your parents make mistakes, there's always something that you can take out of whatever your circumstance is in life. And that's like the number one thing that we've taught our kids, is that with every negative action, there's always a potential for a positive outcome. And even though what was negatively input in him was, could even be traumatic. A lot of kids go through trauma with not having a parent around or whatever. But we get to be chain breakers, and that's why we're families of change, okay? Because families of change are chain breakers and change makers. And so we get to create a new narrative in our families. And so when I asked my husband about what he got, what he is grateful for, or what he took out of his relationship with his dad, he was able to say, well, I was able to see what was missing in the home and do better for my kids. And for my kids, that's the greatest gift, because had he had a nominal father who was just going to work every day and being home and not present, he could have just perpetuated what so many Americans are doing, which is doing the same thing, because there was never a big shakeup, there was never a big loss, there was never, somebody leaving. And so it's like the status quo, that nation and society just stays the same, and there's no need for change. But when a kid goes through something like this, they have to make a decision. Like, am I going to lead a life of pain and go to drugs and alcohol and end up in jail, and turn off that little thing in my mind that knows that it's painful to be a bad dad, or to be a dad? And I'm not saying his dad was bad, but I'm saying for anybody who's watching who's saying, Emma, I have nothing good from my dad. Maybe your dad was abusive. Maybe your dad was abusive to your mom. There's something you can still take that's good out of the situation by saying, I don't want to be abusive, and I'm not going to be. I'm not going to be, what that was. I'm going to be able to create a new narrative. And my kids have had the benefit of my husband making a decision to be a better dad, to be a more present dad. And so, if you guys want to chime in on even any part of, how that's impacted you guys, that daddy has been, you've seen him go through even depression and things when he got injured at work, and still make a decision to, not leave. He could have left.
Yeah, very good. Like today, Daddy just finished making breakfast. I'm getting breakfast in the pot so I can start cooking, and he came up there and saw us playing Connects, and he helped us play Connects, and we had fun this morning. And
we finished the loop way quicker
The loop.
They're making a roller coaster right now.
And what I really think how that has impacted me is that he has always been there, be like, I want to do it with you guys. Like I want to do better stuff with you, and he's always trying to take his what would it be like?
Skills.
His skills,
Mm-hmm.
and giving his skills to us, so we can use them in our life. Because he is older and he has gone through stuff.
He's our elder.
He's been an elder. He's been a kid before, and he knows what it's like. So he wants to
Like
make
he's
sure
invented the wheel, we don't have to reinvent it for ourselves.
That's right, buddy. Yeah.
So in the chat we have Ember. Let's see. Well, I don't. Just one second.
We're getting closer.
Okay. So I just want to just chime in with some of our live viewers here. My favorite feature from my dad, when Watcher says, is the love of the word and wanting to teach it. He also was a great trainer and presenter of information, and I have that too. I kind of look like him, but I look like my mother too. And another viewer says, the mistakes my father made with my mother has made me really appreciate my own husband. I also got the ability to see things from many different points of view from my dad. So those are all things that she said, that they said, and some of them even posted a picture of her dad, and thank you for sharing that to our viewers right now and for just chiming in on that. So I think the bottom line is that we all have a decision to make, and like I said, since this is a Father's Day message, is that dads are needed.
Yeah.
Dads are.
Yeah, and I'll just say, as far as dads, is that is even if the dads have failed, okay, even from even just today or yesterday, is that even that that they if dads have an ability to or have had in the past had failures, that there's always today, always a new day, right, to make that decision change, right? And so there's so many tools, there's so many things to be able to make that difference and make that decision. And we've got a men's group that we can come in together, and you guys can totally come in, and we're working on that. We're working on a study dealing with godly principles and characters, because if life doesn't come with a manual. But what we do have though is that we have God's word and characters and stuff that if our parents haven't taught us well, or if our previous generations haven't taught us well or taught us these things, that if we don't have a standard that's godly, or if we don't have a standard that produces good fruit, then we can totally find that, right? We can totally find that, and we can work through that, and how we do that is we go through God's word. And so in the men's study, that's what we're doing. We're going through characters. We're going through godly characters and principles. My goal is just like what Niall said, is how important it is to have godly men in families, because it literally does and can change our society. And so just to encourage you guys is that even if men are fathers, and if you're not even a father yet, is if today's a new day, and that you can change, right? And there is repentance, there is forgiveness, there is ability to change, and so and there's always room, right? Even for guys who are doing good, fathers are doing good, there's always room to improve, right? And so
I have a question.
Yeah.
So for people that are wanting to do more, let's say a dad is like, all right, cool, well, you're kind of convicting me right now. What would you say is like the first step? What would be the first thing, just one thing?
Yeah, biggest and first and foremost is really just like when you come home from work, right? Because most of the thing is come home from work, is set work aside, come home and engage, and really just say, hey, what's involved, be involved with the kid, be present when you're there, be present, whether it's an hour, whether it's 2 hours, and whether it's 15 minutes, really, just being able to say, look your kids in the eye and say, hey, how was your day? What's going on? Is there is there something that you can help them with? So it's literally just being present in their life, and then just work from that. And then also is set a day aside. Set a day aside for your family, and that biblical.
A day aside, like a month, a week, a year.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Like a Shabbat, you're saying.
So
like,
we do the Shabbat because the biblical principle is 6 days a man shall work and 1 day he shall rest, and so that 1 day is not only to please the Lord and to be able to celebrate the Lord, but to rest. And it's okay to take a break, guys. It is totally able.
God
to take
took a break from making the earth on the seventh day.
That's right. That's right. And so to take that break and be able to say, Brighton, he asked me this week. He said, "Dad, is there a day you just actually?" And it hurt to kind of hear him say this. He's like, "Hey, Dad, is there a day that we can just not work and spend it like that, spend some time together?" I said, "You bet, buddy. We can definitely do that on Saturday on Shabbat." But because we are super busy, we got a lot going on, right? But we did, right? Today we did spend some time together, but Saturdays that's the goal. And so that's the point, is that setting a day aside and that and to be super present, right?
Yeah. I have been talking to some of my coworkers, and they're, some of them are young dads themselves. It's kind of nice because I'm like in a place where it's mostly younger people.
Mm-hmm.
So they ask me questions like, they're like, "Well, how does your dad make each one of you feel like they're heard?" Because someone was asking me, he was like, "Well, you're in a big family and you have lots of siblings. How do you make sure that every kid feels like they're individually heard and their needs are kind of like met or something? Like, just, I don't know, that they just feel like they're acknowledged, like they're by them." How do you say that you do that? Because I feel like, I have always been like, I feel like we all have a pretty good sense that we all are very much acknowledged individually.
Mm-hmm.
But how would you answer it?
Okay, so I personally, from my side, right, how I do it is that I'm engaged in what they're engaged in, right? I for instance, like, their wants, their desires, their interests, their hobbies, right, kind of thing. I go there with them. What they're in, but it's interests me to do what they're interested in, and so be engaged with that. And so, but you're more than welcome to open up with the kids and see their perspective, because that's the truth test.
Yeah.
I even think about like milestones. We're very big into helping kids develop, have milestones in their youth. So maybe if you can't think of anything specific right now, just even think about some of the milestones Daddy's been able to help you achieve. So.
Mine is probably milestone. Was probably helping me with.
And it could be anything. Doesn't have to be a milestone. Anybody can.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it was a milestone he helped me achieve, and a milestone I fall back on a lot, to think about a lot. So I got my student pilot's license before I even got my driver's license or even owned my first car. Only way I was able to do that is he drove me faithfully to the airport every Thursday. Mm-hmm. He drove me up to the airport, and he brought me there. He really poured into me and made sure.
And there's a little bit of a drive, right, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, a little bit. It was like 45-minute drive.
And we waited there while he's doing his lessons and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it was hours. It was like 4 hours. You guys would be gone for like 4 hours.
And importantly to me, he needed my help. We were doing construction at the time, and he got a helper. So that way, he got a helper, and actually took. Not only was he not having my help to work on the projects and to get the construction projects done, he took a loss on profits, so that way he could hire a helper. So that way he didn't have to take me away from.
But you thought your calling was
in a time when we really needed that money. So I'll full forever grateful for that, because I know that was a huge sacrifice for you.
Yeah. Full circle, right? Kind of full circle. He's taking me to Oshkosh. There's a big airplane show for Father's Day, and so it's a kind of a full circle.
He's got an all expenses paid trip to Oshkosh. We're gonna fly out there. We're gonna go see cool airplanes, and we're gonna get a ride in a 1920 Ford tri-motor airplane.
Yeah. Do you think you will bring the whole entire family there.
One day, buddy, we can do that, man.
We'll do that one.
Anybody else?
Sure.
There's so many areas. I wouldn't have been able to get into college if you hadn't helped me with math consistently.
Oh, yeah.
And also with like young living and all of that, just flying me with me to Utah. That whole trip was so awesome. It was one of the best like highlights of my life. And then all the experiences and places that we went, and
Can you sit?
I guess putting a lot of time into helping me learn when I couldn't just grasp concepts really really helped. I wouldn't be where I am intellectually or even achievement wise without your knowledge.
Oh, super love you.
Daddy definitely brings the brains to the table around here. They're like math. I'm like, call Daddy.
Also for all the time that you spend like reading to us every single night and just being consistent with that, because you like a lot of dads, they could be pushed to do that, but you do it out of your own choice. So thank you for that.
Yes.
Oh, you're making. He's got dust in his eyes. Anybody else?
Mine would be thank you for always being there with Kids of Change. I've always like when he comes home and I just got off something for Kids of Change, he always lets me tell him what we did, and he tells me like he always just like encourages me like that is a really good thing, like good job, keep on doing it, and like the kids are learning so much from you. And just like how I've learned so much from him, and because he has always been there to back me up, tell me what to do, and make sure I get through it.
No, thanks, buddy.
Joseph, you have something from your dad?
Just like something that I'm thankful for what he did in my life. Pretty much everything, honestly. Just like his presence in my life throughout, taking me to soccer practices and everything, and going out to eat with me and just have deep conversations and stuff like that, and really just like pour into me. And he does work a lot too. But he still makes time to make sure that I'm heard, like you were talking about earlier. And he definitely provides for our whole family and everything. So I'm just really grateful for, as a whole, just everything that he's done.
Cool.
Without you, Daddy, I wouldn't have gotten my first son badge.
Your first son badge?
Yeah, he got me done a couple days ago.
Wow, buddy, good job.
Good job.
So that's in his math program. Yeah, so wow.
And he got a nice treat for that too. Go.
My milestone that Daddy helped me with would definitely be my book. Thank you for helping me write that.
Oh, you're welcome, buddy.
So he just is a published author. He wrote The Laws of Thermodynamics. He's officially published before he turned 10. So at the age of 9, he just finished The Laws of Thermodynamics, and Daddy even found a rocket friend to read it and give him a thorough review on it.
Yep.
Turn it around, baby, the other way.
Yep.
That's him. He's showing his picture with you. That's his
And
glory
the
on
review-
there.
and the review,
He's
yeah.
showing you the
Oh, the review. Okay, yeah, he got a rocket engineer's review on it with the glowing review. So that is definitely a blessing that he's helped with that.
Yeah, I feel like for me, the way that you made me feel like, I mean, you've always been there, so like that was always just great and important for me. I mean, I think the part when you like really won my heart was definitely that trip to Georgia.
No.
Like that was always just like it's like
He took her, for the listeners, he took Dave to Utah when she was 12 for a dad and her event, because she was the youngest executive for Young Living at the age of 12. She hit a mark that only a 0.01% get it, and she hit it by 13. And she had her own running organization by the time she was 13. So he took her out to
meet everyone, like
to meet all the she was quite known.
Yeah.
Thank you to all the Young Living.
She was the ball of
everybody knew
bell
she
of
did it. It
ball,
was
sure.
literally it was a pretty big deal. So he took her to do that, but then he also took Bijou to Georgia for a daddy and daughter event as well.
Yeah. So I was about 12 years old probably too, because it was for my 13th birthday. And it was a father and daughter retreat out there, and it was absolutely amazing. We came out to Georgia. It was like this beautiful area, and the that one walk around the
Butterfly garden.
Yeah,
you know
it was
that.
just-
Yeah.
the water was like glass, and you could just see all the flowers and everything in it. It was really amazing.
Mhm.
And then he gave me a purity ring too, and that
Yeah.
was awesome. And then obviously that's where I started my whole film career.
Yeah.
Love of it. So
Yeah.
that
Did
was
you, yeah, that's where
when we were inside the event. Princeton's moving today.
Yes, he is. Okay.
But that's when we were inside the event and we were watching that black and white film.
Yeah,
And
right, okay,
I saw
sure.
that there, and I was
Mhm.
like, that's what I want to do one day because it showed the nobility of men and, I'm sorry, the nobility of women and
Yeah.
the chivalry of men.
Mhm.
So that was.
And also, you should probably mention that he was one of your stars in her first movie when she was 13. And this is
Or
what
he's
you
with
He's
us.
with us.
yeah, and everybody has to understand that we like go all in with helping our kids, and so like
Spent
she,
like 3 days editing
we
it too.
we entered. She entered a
Yeah.
film festival when she was 13.
Yeah.
And Clinton was like the main star, and it took a roll down
He's
a
only good
hill.
actor in it.
Like he took a role in it anyway. But she won a notable honorable mention for the Christian Film Festival in
And a
San Antonio,
scholarship, yep.
and she got a weekend scholarship to go to one of their film school. Had we gone at the age of 13, she did that. So
Yeah.
we're really big on helping kids achieve their milestones in their youth, and so Clinton was always been a big part of that. So
I want to go to a cooking show, and actually, Brock's daddy keeps on reminding me. He's like, "What did you make today to practice for the cooking show?" I'm like,
I know we got to get serious about that
Yeah.
and I was like,
competition.
"Oh no, I'll probably do something tomorrow."
Yeah.
So I've been just really
Yeah.
trying to stay on top of that.
Well, Kenneth, you got anything on that?
Yeah. So for me, it's called how Daddy said that he like brings his interest and he gets interested in the things that we're interested in. Well, for me is I was interested in technology when I was right around like 12, 13 as well. I started programming on the back end of some of the apps that I was using for learning and modding them and changing them. And then I told my dad about it, and someone I don't know exactly how he got the opportunity to like go to Remars, but the second that he noticed that I was starting to get interested into technology, he immediately found a conference for him to go to, and so he could study up on technology, so he could help me get into it because he didn't actually know a lot about technology at that point in time. So he went to Remars. So he went to a conference called Remars, and what's it called?
Which is
I'm
a
pretty
pretty
sure he
big
got
event.
a robot
It's a-
there.
It was Jeff
Yeah.
Bezos.
It was the world's leading
Bezos
technology
event.
It's a
thing.
huge event basically, and what's it called when he was there is he met a whole bunch of cool people and told them about that I was getting interested in technology, and asked them what their advice would be for me, and how he can help me get into technology. And so he came home from that trip and he had a whole bunch of resources, like had me completely set up, like literally everything I needed to do, and
Resources and
opportunities
opportunities. Yeah.
and connections, and still to this day. So then after that, I started. I got a certification, and I was the second youngest in the world to actually get a
What did this-
AWS certification,
Cloud
called
certification.
Cloud Practitioner certification, and then to this day, he helped me get an internship with Entree, which is a social media company, and then
Well, he in the note to be notable. Von Kennington was a speaker for NASA apps,
Right.
and so we got to give Von Kennington props because he was
That's right.
he was a guest speaker. Clint, were you a guest speaker on that one?
Mhm.
Yes,
They were
I
both
was.
guest speakers on NASA apps, and the founder of Entree was impressed with Von Kensington. So because Clinton gave him, set him up, this is what I want to say, is because, and this is the main thing, we'll talk about finding your kids calling later, but because we were able to identify that was a gifting for him, then he was able to be set up. We always say to always be ready for an opportunity. And what's our saying? It's better to be ready for an
Yeah, it's better to be ready, be prepared for an opportunity, and not have the opportunity show up than have the opportunity come and then
and not be ready. So
be ready.
yeah, so
Probably not
he
ready.
Daddy helped him get ready.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really grateful that you you jumped on the opportunity the second that I said that I was interested in it. Like you didn't waste any time.
Yeah.
And you really took interest in it. And not only was I learning it, but you were also learning everything with me.
Yeah.
So which was really great because when I had questions, I could come and ask you, and pretty much every time you knew the answer to it. So,
Yeah, I'll say too on that one, just on the note, is that when I went to the conference, right, it was the upper echelon, and it was on the edge of. I went there purposely to the fact that it was for the technology is one of those things to where you got to keep up with it, right? And so
Because you actually have a degree in computer science. Is what your degree is,
Yeah, I
right?
have an information technologies associates, but so I knew from my interest that you can just go and start learning technology and just get passed over by the technology by the time you're learning and everything. So it was really great opportunities that I knew that this is the industry, where the industry is at, and so I went with several questions and I introduced to my people to the people that were pretty high, like even Boston, the CEO of Boston Dynamics, of Amazon, they're not Amazon
Web services.
Amazon Web Services. I would introduce myself. Hey, I'm Clint McMillion. I'm a homeschool dad, and I'm here to learn what the industry has to offer, and how, if you were a dad, how would you tell your kids to coming in the industry? What would they learn? What would you teach them to learn? That kind of thing. I'd ask those questions. Go down the whole line to some of the top CEOs of the community in the country, and it was really interesting how that played out, because what that it did is that positioned Vaughn Kennington, gave me the information to position him to where that he could just come right into the industry that's currently active, instead of go to the college, try to learn something, and then go to the industry and it doesn't apply, right? And so, yeah.
Well, so I hope you guys are inspired, because really, and if you take anything away from this podcast, is that a dad does have such a significance in the home. And as a matter of fact, we have one of our watchers here who gave us stats, because you guys know our family really loves stats here. And then we'll go ahead and be wrapping it up. But just with everything said, is that our kids each have a calling, and they have a gifting from God. And as parents, this is the Families of Change message, is that we all work together to help each other walk in the gift and the calling. And so a lot of families are individuals, and they just go out and everybody's doing their individual thing, and can't wait till my kid turns 18 and moves out of the house and I don't have to pay for them anymore. And we've always been very single unit household, and everything that we do is for the whole. Like, we do everything together. So if Vaughn Kennington's got a goal, we all put our channel our energy there. Dave has a goal, we all channel our energy there. I mean, we get super focused. And so as a father, though, and then I'll give you this stat and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. But Tricia, thank you for this stat. She said, there's a study done that when the fathers step in their faith and go to church and have a relationship, the kids are much more likely to follow than for the mother, like a 60% difference, that if a dad is walking in his faith, the kids are more likely to stick with their faith. So I just thank you, Tricia, for giving us that stat, because I think that's a good place to end our podcast today. But I do want to give her one more thing here, because she did say, Tricia said that her favorite thing she got from her father is his loyalty. My father taught me to swim, and I remember not being easy to teach, but he was so patient. My father was always there when I needed him. So for the watchers, we would love to hear on the comment line what your father did that was your favorite thing, or whatever trait that you got from him that you appreciate was. So
yeah, and I'll say too again, is that for those that the fathers aren't around or haven't been around, is to remember the fact that our Father in heaven is always there for you, and that our earthly father is an example and should be an example as our Father in heaven is, and so that is my ultimate reminder and ultimate goal is to be like unto the Father. That is my Father, and so guys, if it's super important to be involved as fathers and be involved in your families. And today is a new day, and so let's make the next Father's Day even better. And for families that need fathers in their lives, is remember the fact that the Father in heaven is there for you as well. So.
So thank you so much for watching the Families of Change podcast. If you'd like to find out more information about what we're doing here in the Families of Change movement, you can check out our IG that is at Families of Change. You can go to my website, emmasarah.com, or our familiesofchange.com site. And we will be here weekly. You can find us on YouTube. We're still getting our schedule down, but you can go to YouTube to Families of Change podcast and find us there for the replays as well too. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
And good night.
Night.
Bye.
Happy Father's Day to the fathers out
Happy
there.
Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Okay, ladies, you guys are welcome to unmute if you have any comments